Hi, it's Detangler with your Daily Detangler, and I want to talk to you about encountering reality. Are you encountering reality today? Obviously, you are. But what's that all about? Why am I talking about reality? Obviously, when you're floating around in outer space and looking at the planet, your perspective of reality is broadened. When you're at your computer looking at a detangler, your definition of reality is completely different. What's real is what you perceive. Now, if you think deeply about it, you can define your reality a variety of different ways. What about the people on the right? They're experiencing a conversation, they're engaged in that conversation, and they're in a discussion. Maybe it's a creative discussion. Maybe there's a joke that was just happening, or perhaps they're planning the next step in a big adventure. However, as they're working together or discussing, each of them are going to have a different perspective. Do you think they're going to define the reality the same? Their reality the same? The challenge is each person's likely going to define reality a completely different way. What's real to the person with the computer may be real different to the person on the right. The person with the phone may have a different definition of reality. What do I mean by that? For example, reality might be what you see. Reality might be what you touch. Reality might be the actual conversation that's happening. Reality might be the sounds that you're hearing. Or it might be all of those things. If you want to get existential about it, reality could be what you've done in a past life even, right? So it all comes down to what's the frame of that reality and how do you personally define that reality. And that's what I want to talk to you about today because we're encountering reality when we're driving change. When that happens, let's talk about what's working. We're going to talk about suspending our thoughts, softening our approach, and staying zen, which is critical when encountering reality that may or may not be the same perception that others have. So when we think about what works here, there's timely, there's relevant, and there's in context. This comes from Catalyst's definition of a valuable sales conversation, a conversation that's timely, a conversation that's relevant, and a conversation that's in context is a valuable conversation. However, how many people are involved in that conversation? Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it 300? It depends. Each person is going to have their definition of what timely, what in context is, and what's relevant to them. Have you ever thought about that? Just because you believe that you have something that's timely, in context, or relevant, doesn't mean that the other person's going to perceive it as so. In essence, they're going to have a different perspective, a different reality about that sales conversation. What they believe that sales conversation to be could actually be different than the conversation that you're hearing. Have you seen this play out in any of your conversations lately where perhaps you've shared something and you expect it to land, but it doesn't? Do you want to then blame the other person for not understanding? Or are you taking this into account? Are you suspending your judgment of the other person and suspending what you believe that you know and trying to meet people halfway? That's critical. And as you can see from the rubber stamp here, are you rubber stamping the conversation? Or are you asking yourself, do I really know the person I'm talking to? And do I really understand what they're perceiving? In essence, do I understand what their definition of reality is? Because then I'll be able to relate. Here's a definition of something that came into my desk from the desk of Catalyst. Hey, Detangler, how do we create a problem statement in situational awareness? How would you go about that? What would you be doing? How would you define that or tackle that? What does this even mean? Chances are this is very clear to Catalyst, but I got to tell you, when I got it, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, what? Okay, how do I create a problem statement? I have a problem. And then how do I create situational awareness? Holy crap. Can you actually create situational awareness in somebody? What's the process of doing that? How would I apply the orchestration orb and think about the process of creating situational awareness, the people involved in becoming situationally aware. Am I going to use technology to help them become situationally aware? I'm going to share, what information am I going to share to help them be situationally aware? What is situationally aware in the first place? And am I going to get curious about that? Chances are Catalyst's definition of what's real here versus mine is completely different. So what do I do about that? I have a choice. Do I blame him for not being clear, or do I get curious? And that's the next piece here, softening your stance. One of the things that's working really well is humbling up. And humbling is something that I've struggled with personally. But when something comes across my desk, like what I just showed you, it's very easy to blame the sender for not being clear. But when I humble up and say, hey, what is happening here? What's the broader context? Why does he think it's relevant? Why is he sending to me at this time? Right? I can begin to think more deeply about it. But I have to lower my stance. I have to be less prickly. I have to be less judgy. I have to be able to receive and then internalize. And it's a paradox. This is so fluid. We're driving change on a daily basis. The value that I added yesterday is, something that's going to change today. Also, what I think is valuable isn't necessarily going to be valued by others. They get to determine what's valuable. Also, I may feel like I'm doing something that everybody already knows, but have I confirmed that? Have I actually confirmed that they actually know that? It all comes down to perspective and what they believe is real. On this picture on the right, the person on the left believes that that's a real 6. That person on the right, they believe it's a real 9. They are both right in that instance. Their reality is different, however. They're going to anchor in on it's a 9 and it's a 6 until somebody gives, until somebody softens their stance. That's going to be a critical piece of this. And, we've discovered and we've discussed how change happens every single day. And it's easy to talk about how change happens to everybody else. But and that's easy for me to do. I do that all the time. Well, those people need to change. But actually, change starts with me. And change starts with you. So here's an example. If I go, hey, what are we selling? Now, I could just answer that. That's easy, Brian. I'm highly offended that you would ask me a simple question like that. Of course we're selling consultant, you idiot. You think I'm stupid? We know these things to be true, Brian. We know what you're selling. And you'd say, well, who's Brian? I thought you were a detangler. And you'd be right, because I slipped. And if you go, okay, well, you know what? Tell you what, we're selling tech features. We're selling reporting. We're selling a process. We're selling data. We're selling methods. We're selling foresight. We're selling a vision. We're selling thought leadership. We're selling market expertise. We're selling what we know. We're selling training others. We're selling problem solving. And I could go on and on. Are each of those true? Absolutely. My perspective of what those things are become hardwired in my brain. And I become convinced that this is what we're selling. This is absolutely what we're selling. And I know the value of this. Why don't people get it? Well, what are they buying? Here's the green boxes. That's our customer. What are they buying? Who the heck knows? What's their reality? Well, their reality is they've got problems. They've got stresses. They've got emails. They've got team meetings. They've got reports. They've got conflicting priorities. They've got the changing business strategy. They've got a merger that they're trying to integrate. They've got politics that are happening to them. They've got a doctor appointment they have to go to. They've got new mandates that are coming down. They've got people on their team who aren't happy for whatever reason. They've got suggestions from everybody about what they should be doing. They've got typos that need to be fixed. And I could go on and on and on. The reality on the left is completely different than the reality on the right, isn't it? How related are these two realities, the blue and the green? Are they even related at all? Are they even related at all? Are they even related at all? Well, we bridge that by selling value and selling capabilities. Everybody knows what that is, and it's clearly designed to help them be successful. They know that. Okay, well, I'm spending 75 hours a week on all this green stuff. I'm working 75 hours of my job on this green stuff. And now you're selling capabilities. Yeah. You know what? We are. Well, that's interesting because I don't even know what we're doing, to be honest. And now you want me to sell and buy what's possible, and you're selling me a vision? I don't get it. Well, we have a bunch of people we're going to throw at you to help you. We've got 40 FTEs that can help you. What the fuck are we talking about? It's like Moneyball. What the hell is going on in this? We've got blue versus green. We've got perspective versus perspective. We've got one reality versus the other reality. And we're just going to massage it all by saying we sell value. That's the answer. That's all you have to do. If you're a salesperson, just make it happen. Go do it. Where's the money? Well, Detangler, it's much more complicated than that. Okay. What is it? How would you confront this reality? Because our customer's doing that every day. So to engage in that, we have to stay zen. Here's a nice zen rock garden. Take a 10-second break after my super frustrating slide that just happened. Take a break. 10 seconds. Take a deep breath. So in this view of embracing reality, the tone that we have is important. Also, our curiosity is important. Why does Catalyst say we need to be more curious? Because in this picture, it's really the only way to move forward. I can't convince people that blue is better than green. I can't convince people that green is better than blue. I can't convince people that throwing bodies at it's not the solution. I can't convince people that of course they know what they can buy, and of course they know what they're doing. I can only ask questions to help them see what their perspective is, in the hope of uncovering a combined reality where blue plus green equals, what is that? Purple? I don't even know. No, blue and red is purple. What's blue and green? I guess it's aqua. You can tell how scripted I am. So when it comes to staying zen, silence and questions are the keys to success, especially in the prototyping. I say silence because in order to talk about this stuff, we have to be disciplined. When I try to be disciplined and I slow down and I create a pause, it's natural for people to want to fill it. I'm giving you a 2-second break between statements. And I think when I do the 2 seconds, you probably find it annoying. It's really hard to be thoughtful and disciplined without taking a minute to compile your thoughts. Are you comfortable with that space of being disciplined and thoughtful? Or do you have to fill it? And what are you filling it with? And if what you're filling it with isn't moving it forward, is it really just a distraction? What if you were to ask questions instead? And how would questions help move forward? So you have to trust the questions that you get from team members. These questions are legit and they're real and they're curious. Dismissing people's questions isn't helpful. It's not helpful to you and it's not helpful to the team culture. People don't ask questions just to stump you. They're asking questions to try to move the process forward. So what does any of this have to do with what we're doing? Well, this is about living our principles. Living our principles means being curious about the reality that we're engaging in And if we're going to orchestrate, and if we're going to live our principle of orchestrating, which is principle 1, not principle 4. I keep doing that on these. It's hilarious. Being an orchestrator, it's really critical to think about the other people's perspective. And I like what we did on the previous detangler, where we connected some dots. In this case, it's about leading with you and reflecting on what's your stance. It's also about being heroic and thinking about holistically what's happening. And when you do that, you're able to not only confront your own perspectives and your own biases, but engage in a curious way that creates the space you need to figure things out. By taking a deep breath, by asking questions, and by thinking about the context of what's happening and the environment that we're in, and the fact that, quite frankly, we're doing stuff that hasn't been done before. Don't forget that. These types of techniques can help us engage in that ambiguity and figure it out together. This has been Detangler. I hope this was helpful for today. If you're tangled on something, feel free to reach out. I'd like to talk to you about it, and perhaps you can help me with detangler topics. I'll see you in the next one.